So I was a bit more colorful, right? So, well, excellent. So we just heard from Terry on how DTC, direct-to-consumer, is a key trend in commerce. So we're very pleased to announce our next speaker, Mark Lavelle, who leads one of the businesses that power this trend. So Mark is the SVP of Commerce for Adobe and formerly was the CEO of Magento, which was acquired by Adobe for $1.7 billion earlier this year. Magento has a really interesting history. If you recall, they were actually part of eBay at one time and then spun out and owned by private equity, and now obviously found a home at Adobe. And at LUMA, we feel that it was a very smart deal for them to do because it really rounds out their goal of powering all consumer experiences. And also, they needed the capability in order to compete with Salesforce Demandware, Oracle ADG, IBM Commerce Server, and SAP Hybris. So we're thrilled to have Mark, who will discuss Magento's journey through these past years and how his business interplays with the rest of the Adobe Experience Cloud.
Morning. Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. Thank you, Luma, for having me here. Although, sort of break a rule of presentations, I'm going to sort of qualify it at the beginning and saying it would not be unusual it is unusual to have probably some of my background here at a marketing summit conference. Because of all the things, if I might be expert at anything, probably ad tech, marketing tech's not it. I came up through financial services and commerce, but I think there's a real thread here. So love to talk to you today about the Adobe strategy, but maybe a little bit about my background first. Like I said, I came up really through financial services in the credit card marketing world, where we spent a lot of money personalizing your mailboxes with envelopes. A lot of direct marketing expertise in that industry using data. And the internet really hit that market pretty hard, pretty quickly. And that's where we started thinking about what would the ability to connect with a customer in the digital age look like for direct marketing in financial services. And started a company in 2000 called Bill Me Later that was basically taking all the information you had in the internet and putting it in checkout and giving you what was called transaction-based credit. And so, 9 years into our 3-year business plan, in the early 2000s, was a little rough in the early days. We sold that company to eBay for about $1 billion. And it was actually, 3 days ago is the anniversary of that sale. And actually came a week later, which I almost have to look at the calendar, to an eBay PayPal strategy meeting about 2009 in this room. So got off a plane after celebrating with my family, came into this room, and started what became a 6-year journey with eBay and PayPal. In a time, $1 billion used to be a lot of money back then, and it was like a 9 or 10 multiple, which was respectable. But then came Stripe and Square and Braintree, which was the last company I acquired. I ran strategy and M&A for PayPal. And we acquired Braintree, not because we thought it was great. It was great technology. We bought it because we had missed the 2 D2C companies that were referred to. We missed Airbnb and Uber, which were native on the native mobile companies. And PayPal had missed getting into those checkouts. And to miss getting into those checkouts means to miss all of that total payment volume. So it was really a threat. And Braintree corrected that. So it's been a great acquisition for them. But that's, the first company I bought, interestingly enough, was a little company called Magento. We bought 49% of it in 2010, and the rest of it in 2011. And we bought it because kind of the same thing. The origins of Magento, just so you know, I don't know how many people are aware of Magento. It started out as an open source project. 2 UCLA CS grads were, helping people implement websites, and that was really hard to do from a commerce perspective. Took an open source commerce project, created a kernel around it, called it Magento, released it in under open source license, and within a year, they're getting calls from all over the world saying, this is great, can you add this feature, this is fantastic, when's the next version? And what had started off the project for them, helping them to help serve their clients, became a software company that grew to be the largest global commerce platform in the world. And that's when we saw it, because at PayPal it went off on our radar as the second largest channel of payment volume, second only to eBay itself. And I think it remains that today. And it grew because of technology, but it grew because of the ecosystem around it. And what's unique about Magento is this ecosystem of developers, technology partners, and solution providers that can literally do anything and everything with it. And I'll talk at the end. D2C is a topic we can talk about. The flexibility of Magento would actually presage its success in where we are today, which is the experience is everything. Companies want to own the experience. The experience is changing rapidly. It's global. It's multi-channel. It has to integrate with existing systems. So some of the inherent nature of how Magento was built, not just the technology itself, but the ecosystem around it, helped it rise to where it is today. Over 350,000 developers call themselves Magento developers. We only had about 350 actually on the payroll. We have many, many more times that work on the platform outside of the business. We have system integrators all the way from Accenture down to small, 50, 20-person developer shops, and really have built around it a set of capabilities, now part of Adobe, that can do complex order orchestration, analytics, but mainly drive great experiences for getting the product in the customer's hands. So just to recant the long history, started in 2007, acquired by eBay and PayPal, and famously when eBay and PayPal decided to separate in 2015, I got reacquainted with Magento because I was part of the team selling assets that would not go along with that split out, let's say, and got the chance to get private equity sponsors and spin Magento back out as an independent company, something that if you follow the company, thought would never happen again. And had a very fast and thrilling 30-month, 2.5-year journey before we were kind of being sought after. We were really being sought after right away, but we had a strategy to retool the business, develop the company around it, all right, put sales, marketing, customer success, did a couple of acquisitions, created the cloud strategy that is now the most popular version of Magento selling today. And then actually was last year when Suresh, how many of you were here with Suresh Vittal last year was on the stage? I was invited to their sales kickoff. He's head of product management now. He gave a presentation here last year, was it your last conference, that pretty much gives a better overview of Adobe than I'm going to give this morning. So if you want to see Adobe, go out on YouTube, it's out there. I was there watching them give presentations to their sales team about Sensei, which is their AI solution, and how it can help the creative side of the digital industry be more efficient at their jobs. And the demonstration was somebody had a task of creating a movie advertisements for a brand new sci-fi episode. And short story, to create a long project, they used AI to say, well, let's pick the words out of the script and the picture that the producer had generally written with pencil, took a picture of it, and the Sensei system was able to give them a massive head start on what they needed. Black background, stars, a spaceship, future looking, pulled the actors' images from the catalog, figured out which ones looked best, varied it between language, and it was pretty remarkable. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, what's the next part of this experience? Right? What's the objective here of the ad? It's to sell tickets, right? It's to get people into the movie theater. And so that's why Magento became part of Adobe. If you were here and Suresh was talking about it, he's like, a latte is not a latte, right? A latte is an experience, right? It's where you get it, it's how you get it, what it looks like. but you still got to buy the latte, right? You still have to take money from somebody's hand. You still have to check out. And that's increasingly, because of the Amazon age, part of the experience, right? How easy it is to get the product that you want. And so we fit very nicely into this experience cloud that Adobe has spent really, I'm learning a lot, billions and billions of dollars in R&D that I wasn't aware of, really stitching together these products into a platform that are going to allow the next generation of companies and marketers to do things much more seamlessly and effortlessly. Analytics, advertising, marketing, documents, and obviously now commerce. And we are really banking on, not that you would use all of the Adobe's products for everything, but that the best way to get the data, the best way to get automation and at some point intelligence out of the system would be to be on a platform that has a unified profile, that you could tie all this together, which I know, as you guys are aware, is a challenge in the industry, that you could really work with content in a data-centric way, unstructured content, and make sense of that, and that you could have control over that, and you can unify it. So, as I said, there's been a lot going on. We were acquired for $1.7 billion, about a 12 times revenue multiple, which used to be a big deal until a week ago. So Steve, the CEO of Marketo, is the joke inside Brad Rencher's staff is we are Momo, right? Magento, Marketo, and I'm Little Mo, right? So Momo, marketing and commerce, fitting into this engine has been just fascinating to see how they've been developing it. And as you guys are aware, it's all really about this digital imperative that boards, private equity owners, VCs, C-suites are now not fooling around with. It's not a side project as it was 10 years ago. Let's go figure out digital. It is the business strategy across the industry. It's certainly what we're seeing at Adobe and Magento. And it's in our specific industry, it's about buyer expectations. It's about the fact that buyers are, it's good to be a consumer today, right? You can get everything on demand. You can get everything in a price transparent way. You can get things now before you even know you need it, right? Anticipatory commerce and all the things that are happening. And that has permeated not just our consumer lives, but you think about it as business buyers. When the purchase clerk goes to work, he's not thinking, oh boy, let's go fill out these forms and mail them in. He's like, why can't I order this stuff on my phone, right? So the business to business side is digitizing at a very, very rapid rate. It's certainly impacted our business. So buyer expectations across the board, and the path to doing that isn't as easy as it was 10 years ago. No, it's not just about having a pretty website, right? It's about having an integrated solution across all channels. Why? Because that's where your buyer is spending time. That's where your audience is spending time. They're not just navigating to, you'll be lucky to get them to navigate to your website, right? You've got to be on social platforms. You've got to be in third-party marketplaces like Amazon, if you so choose, to have your product there. It has to be done in a brand-consistent way. You have to think about things like price and promotion, all things you had to think about before. Now you need to do it in channels that are proliferating. And to be relevant globally, you've got a whole other set of things that you have to deal with. So experience matters more than ever. And what I thought is interesting is this comment that really, if you think about it, you are now competing with the best experience your customer ever had. If experience is the thing, then it's not whether or not Airbirds is better than another shoe. It's whether or not I can get the same experience I got when that Airbirds box came and it flopped open. I'm like, wow, they're basically, they're great shoes. It's basically a shoe that came beautifully packed, easily ordered, and you felt great about it. So I would say that even if you're selling shirts or you're selling mattresses, you're competing with that great experience, that Uberization of everything. And that's pretty profound. You know, when you talk to companies selling tractors and nuts and bolts and fences, you know, they have the same pressure. And therefore, so too do companies that are manufacturing products and thinking about their channels to the customer. And we're seeing a lot of that, which I'll talk about in a second. So it's about winning this customer journey. And how do you do it? How do we think about it from the Adobe platform? Well, I think you guys probably cover this in this conference, again, much better than I can. First thing is the brand has to be relevant. We tell people all the time, it's not just about the technology anymore. You have to have something to say. You know, like Shave Club, it's basically a razor, right? But you have to have something that breaks through. The message is super important. The consistency of that message is also important. And that's a challenge that we see clients having, and making that on our platform be easy to manage so that you have awareness and you can personalize that message, which is the next real imperative of this experience mandate. But then you got to pay it off. You have to really be able to pay this off, right? It's not just a lot of most of the money, as a matter of fact, is spent in this in your industry, in marketing, and getting the customer to the point that they are aware of the brand. And but then you got to have the ability for them to transact, and it has to be easy, and it has to be as consistent as the whole marketing experience has been to that point. So what we call it at Adobe is making every experience personal, but also making every moment shoppable. And the implication there is you can't wait for them to get 4 or 5 steps in to hopefully get to a product page. You've got to bring the purchase experience right up front to the customer. That has implications for social media, third-party marketplaces, retail channels, wholesale channels, you name it. So it's more complex. And the complexity has to be handled by software, by data, by automation. And this is kind of how that journey looks, you know, from a piece parts perspective, and the orange, and to some extent the support at the end is what how Magento fits into the awareness, discovery, and consideration phase that Adobe is famous for and does extremely well. Optimizing the commerce experience, being able to pull that shoppable moment up and transact, take payments, the basics, right? The basics have to be at scale, have to be global. Complex order management, right? When in the Amazon age, the defense that people are realizing is the stores are a unique asset, right? So shipping from store and being able to orchestrate the order that is both delivers the best customer experience, but also at some point you got to optimize the cost, right? So if you could take a step out of the fulfillment process by shipping the product from the right place, you need to do that, but that takes intelligence and awareness. It takes a platform. And then payments and fulfillment, which industry I grew up in, which on the payment side I think has done a fairly reasonable job compared to some of the other categories at sort of globalizing and digitizing their platforms. You think about the wallet and Apple Pay and the things that PayPal's done, you know, with Braintree. So a lot to do. This is where I think the platform comes in. This is where we see it going. So I'll talk now about a couple of use cases, and then leave you with thoughts on where I think things are going. But you know, to the prior speaker, I think there is a convergence of things going on. One of the reasons I don't feel I'm good at ad tech and marketing tech is just a blizzard of companies that are in this space, right? I think an investment banker's core competency here is just be able to fit all those logos on a slide and make some sense of it. They used to come and pitch, and I'm like, what are these companies? But you're seeing bigger companies grab these assets because the clients can't determine what they're supposed to do. You know, it's too complex. It's too busy. They need a platform. They need a company. And so we have the most fascinating set of use cases at Magento and now at Adobe coming at us that, you know, I wish we were smart enough to figure it out and have gone and started it. But we have companies from nearly every industry coming and saying, I need Magento. And it is, you know, Boy Scouts of America, it's HP, it's a lot of CPG firms. It is, like I said, B2B, like Steelcase, creating new channels to their customer. So it's probably one of the most fascinating observations, just look at our inbound sales records coming in and to see the companies that are digitizing. Let me talk about a few of them. Abbott Labs, right? Abbott Labs, large pharmaceutical company. reinventing entirely how they do their business, which is, drug development. Hope the doctor, I was going to say hope somebody gets sick, but hope that the doctor prescribes your medicine for the patient, and then you really don't have a relationship with the patient. So they're investing in direct-to-consumer drug transmittal, not just direct to the drug from a prescription basis, but monitoring, using internet technology to monitor whether or not the patient has taken the medicine. Through a callback system, they can tell the doctor whether the patient's been taking the medicine, and they could do resupply. So they've game-changing in their business to have direct relationships with consumers at what we consider a big R&D drug manufacturer. This is one of my favorite ones. Anybody know Gabor Shoes? Germany, Gabor Shoes, big shoe brand. In Germany, but all over the world. 60 companies, 5,000 retailers that they work with. They don't own the retail; they're the manufacturer, right? They're Nike. They create all these brands, and they've used us to create a marketplace that actually, I don't know their department store, so I'll use ones we know. Macy's and Nordstrom's will connect their inventories for Gabor Shoes to the marketplace, so that if you walk into a Macy's and you need a size 9 red pump, and they're out of it, that store could actually sell it to you from Nordstrom's inventory. All right? Why would Macy's do that? Why would Nordstrom's allow that? Because where is that client going to go if she doesn't get that shoe? Maybe Nordstrom's, but maybe Amazon, right? So it's the most fascinating way I've seen the manufacturer, the brand, work with the retailer, and the retailer working with the competition to solve, what consumers demand, which is immediacy. You can't be out of anything, right? You say no to me, I'm walking out, I may not come back. So they've just had tremendous, increase in store turnover and sell-through and sales, and are expanding this fairly rapidly. This is a big trend. I don't know how big this is overall. Has anybody ever customized your Coke can with a message? Did you know you could? You can now customize your Coke purchases. You can customize your Evian water purchases. I could send you bourbon with your name on it. For some reason, every beverage manufacturer in the world is doing this. And again, like Abbott Labs, it's about forming a relationship directly to consumer, about getting a presence with the consumer with their brand that's unique and cuts through everything else that's going on in their lives. Another Internet of Things, BabyNest. This is Nestle, and I visit Nestle. It's fascinating the number of brands that Nestle manages across the world and how many countries they manage it. Huge investment in rethinking everything. You probably know the Nespresso success that they've had. Same concept with BabyNest. You've got a device, goes into the home, it's internet connected. You have an app. You have a device that can tell you which formula is right for your baby, software, tell you right for your baby, and a smart system that knows when to resupply and do something unique for the family, for the baby. They're doing this across, you can think of any product line, there's probably a project going on how there's a device with some personalization and an Internet of Things connection to it, and software connecting them in ways that haven't been done before. And so what's next? Well, the thing we say is a lot of traditional commerce clients are just getting caught up, but there's a lot that are getting ahead. I showed you a few of them. And getting ahead means understanding that this isn't over, understanding that the wheel is going to turn again. It's not just that now it's mobile and social. There's going to be another thing. And we already know what some of those are. It's voice, right? It's every interactions being recorded, searching for a command, searching for a way to serve us with a response. And commerce is certainly going to be a big piece of that. So brands have to think about, how do you live in a world where nobody's actually even touching a device, right? I'm just sitting in my kitchen and I say, give me some more of those Allbirds shoes. And it happens. That is definitely something that we're preparing for, that from a platform perspective, you can't go and then figure out how to create a new stack that serves voice commerce. You have to do it with the same technology you have, and that's just another endpoint. And you also have to know, oh, that's the same customer that visits me in these other places, because they're going to expect that you know that. virtual reality, augmented reality, intelligence, 3D printing. These are all things that we might have chuckled at, a couple years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, happening today in really unprecedented ways. So very excited at this part of the journey to have come to get from payments to commerce and now fit it in with an experience that feels right for the next decade, right? I think Suresh was talking about back end used to be ERP, and that was the first wave of software, then front end, which was CRM. But I think we're really in an age now where brands will be seeking to do business with people that can provide an end-to-end experience and talk in that way and help them through this journey, because it's difficult for them and it's an imperative. And thank you for letting me share a little bit of our perspective about it with Adobe. I appreciate it.